victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.
And are not afraid to say it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show. We are on every Sunday, 6 to 8, on InTheMixRadio.com. I am your host, AJ Woodson. Damon K. Jones is in the house.
Yes.
Lopez is in the house. We have a full show for you today. We are going to be discussing a bunch of different issues. We have civil rights attorney Michael Sussman on, who represents the individual who was accused in last week's Hanukkah party attack in Muncie, New York. We will also be addressing mental health in the state of New York, changing of the bail reform laws, and the Westchester County DA race gets heated over police corruption. Let me switch screens real quick. Bam! Guess who stepped up in the room? The Cal.
Yep. It's nothing's wrong with your screen on your phone. I am in the building.
Damon K. Jones is in the building.
He said nothing wrong with the screen.
It is not an optical illusion.
At 30 pounds lighter.
Yeah, he lost 30 pounds and
20,
I found it.
25 more to go. But we're going to we'll talk about that another time.
And we have the lovely Lorraine Lopez in the building.
Hey, I came back 20 pounds lighter too.
Okay, I think I might have found your 20.
I
found your 20. I found your 20. I found your 20 and your 30. I think so. And we have our guest, our civil rights attorney Mike Sussman. We have another guest coming in. Karen Bess is coming in shortly, and she will be discussing the Legal Aid Society, and I guess they have something coming up soon. So when she comes in, we will bring her in real quick. You can stay there the whole time.
She's right.
But yeah, when she comes in, we're gonna have her come in. She's gonna come in and out, and you are our main attraction for the show, for our guests for the show. So there's been a lot going on in the news, man. It's just the news has been crazy. I know. There's a big rally town hall coming up this week, tomorrow actually, I think, for the Save and Transform Mount Vernon Hospital. I'll put the flyer up later. Sean Patterson Howard had her inauguration yesterday at Thornton High School and announced several of her appointments this week, which included Glenn Scott for police commissioner, who was a guest on the show when we did Blacks in Blue. He was on the show before. Brian Johnson's the Corporation Counsel. Deborah Norman is the fire chief. She was sworn in as the fire chief. I believe that's her name, Deborah Norman. And I don't remember who the rest of the Malcolm Clark is the special assistant to the mayor. Daniel Terry will still be on there working with communications, and I think Pastor Sproul will be staying over the water department. And I believe that's all I know about the announcements. I'm not sure if there were more, but those are the ones that I knew. Also, shout out to, I want to thank Councilwoman Tasha Diaz for shouting us out in her speech after she got sworn in Friday. That was Friday, right? Was it Friday? One of the last couple of days. Was it Friday? Saturday?
No, it was New Year's. Didn't she get sworn in? New Year's
Okay.
Day she got sworn in.
What day was New Year's Day?
I don't know.
Tuesday? Wednesday?
Okay, on Wednesday. Okay. My days all run together. Anyway, she gave us a big shout out. And she swore in. I heard that she gave a hell of a speech. I'm still waiting for the video so I can see it for myself.
Very powerful.
Congratulations to Judge Jared Rice, who's sworn in Friday evening as New Rochelle City Court Judge. Have big shoes to fill, filling the seat his mother held for years.
And I know his mother has to be proud.
Absolutely, mother and father. That's legal. I think even the other son is a lawyer too. I think that's a legal family.
I know that's a proud.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's a very accomplishment that one of your seeds can step into the seat that you held honorably, and they could do the same thing. That's great. I think that's a wonderful thing.
I talked to him recently. He was on the show a week or two ago. And I talked to him recently. I was like, "Yo, you know you got some big shoes to fill." Like, I didn't know his mother personally, but I've heard nothing but great things about her. So, we got people protesting locally and nationally against against a conflict with Iran, which kind of seems inevitable after after the president took out the head of the Revolutionary Guard. Iran tensions dominated all the talk shows today, and one of the things that I've been thinking, and it's funny because I thought it, and you posted the New York Times headline about Bill Clinton, because my thing was this really an imminent threat, or was this Trump's version of Wag the Dog? There was an article on the front page of the New York Times that Bill Clinton diverted
when he was going through impeachment.
Right, he delayed the House decision impeachment by an air attack on Iraq. Yeah. So,
well, did you hear they just put a bounty on the president's head for $80 million?
Did we think it wasn't going to happen?
Iran,
did we think that they wasn't going to respond in the way they would respond?
Three Americans are dead today in Kenya.
Yes.
Exactly.
The Kenyan embassy, yes. American embassy.
One gentleman was killed and 3 Americans are dead 3 days later.
Yo,
that's the beginning of it.
One thing Trump don't understand, they the equivalent of Wu-Tang, nothing to F with. They just ain't, Iran ain't nothing to F with. They just ain't the one. You ain't gonna just talk and tweet and say all these mean words and do what you want. And they were looking for a reason to
well, no, I think really, I mean, for you had a united effort for the nuclear agreement, which other countries signed off on,
and he pulled out.
And
he 2015 agreement,
right. He pulled out.
Without replacing it with something else.
Not even that, but at the BS, he didn't even talk. Like the conversation, it was a joint agreement with multiple countries.
Yeah.
You know, and him pulling out, and I believe when reading, like, other countries try to keep the United States in it, and now he goes on his own, kills the #1 military guy, right, and the number 2. And he killed somebody from Iraq. I think they were together.
Right.
He does this all. I mean, like, you cannot rally the rest of the world, you know, for this.
But they breached the agreement.
Ooh.
Well, the
Iran-
Iranians,
Iran,
after
yeah.
we withdrew, they breached.
Yeah.
It's an
Well,
interesting legal concept.
Exactly. He said it's their fault. Right. That's all. I had to catch on for a minute. I was like, wait a minute.
Damon, you know what I'm saying? But it's kind of a concept. It's like, you know.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. This is going. We're in dangerous territory because I don't know what will Trump say to make this a united effort. And
It's going to be a united effort against us. You
Well,
got
well,
Russia, China, and
yeah.
Iran already working together.
well, yeah.
It's going to be
Yeah,
a united
yeah,
effort
yeah.
against us. That's
Yeah,
what it's going to
But
be.
here's the difference. With Bush, there was this desire to say it's all a united effort. All the
Exactly.
allies are working together.
Exactly.
With Trump, he
It's
doesn't
me.
care. No, he
Exactly.
doesn't care.
Right.
He's happy to go it
Exactly.
alone. So he's not
Exactly.
going to be saying it's
He said,
a
we don't
united
need
effort.
nobody.
That's
We
right.
don't
We're
need nobody.
above everyone
Right.
else.
Which is a total which
Yeah.
I think is a total mistake.
That's-
And it's unfortunate that there will be lives lost
Many.
because of ego and arrogance. You know,
Absolutely.
And
But he started.
yeah,
He started.
yeah. So
So we're going to stay on top of that. I mean, that's going to be, I'm sure, that is going to dominate the headlines for a long period of time. And another thing, like you're talking about the wag the tail thing, no one's talking about the impeachment situation right now. Everybody's talking about Iran.
well, I mean,
Oh, they talked about it all day
well,
today.
well,
Just nothing happening.
It would have been the A block if he didn't do this.
Right.
Now they talked about it 20, 30 minutes into the show as opposed to it being on the A block.
Now they have another ground. No,
they
have another ground though that he's lying to Congress about the imminent threat. That
The
this
imminent
gentleman
threat, that's the
was
thing they talked
posing.
about today.
So
yeah.
it's going to be all.
That's why I said, was it an imminent threat or
Right.
was it his
Right.
version of
You're
wag
right on.
the dog? So special shout out to Sandy Barnaby tuned in, Delphin, Husler, Lorraine was here, Omi
Hey.
Medina, Nesta Felix. She said, "Hey guys, Wayne Robinson Sr., my cousin. What's up, cousin? Nada, Kada. Nessa said, very special year. Yes, Jordan Rice is the other son is an attorney, and she said the Rices are an astounding family. We got Leon Martin, we got Marvin Church, we got Pat English, got Mount Vernon City Court Judge Adrian Armstrong tuned in. And Jack Toon said, stop it. America loves war. Remember? More people watch Fox News than any other news
That's
show.
true. It's true.
Right.
They do now.
Truman dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, and Nagasaki after World War II was already won. He's a national hero. Mira
Danielle, that's Tasha's sister. Hey.
Hey, what's up? And everybody else that is tuned in. We got a full show. We have our first guest who came to let us know a little something about what's going on with the Legal Aid Society. Karen Bess.
Yes.
Now, now let me. I know you were running for judge, and your
Yes.
page still says Judge Karen Bess. Are you currently a judge?
Well, I'm an administrative law judge at the DMV in the
Okay.
Bronx.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that up because
Yes.
I know it says judge, and I'm like, okay, I couldn't intro you because I wasn't sure.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
So I just want to say thank you for having me. I know
Oh,
it was
thanks for
short
coming.
notice,
Yes.
but this is a really important event. Well, events that we're having at the Legal Aid Society of Westchester County. So just to give you some background, recently, I believe it was November, December, I became the vice president of the board of directors for the Legal Aid Society of Westchester.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I was on the board, and then I just took the opportunity to become vice president. I was a public defender with the office, and I loved the office so much, I just wanted to transition into doing something different. So instead of being in the front lines, I'm on the back helping the people I worked with. So one of the things I wanted to do as a vice president was to help the Legal Aid Society get more into the community. And one of the ways we figured out how to do that is with the whole bail reform situation. It affects all of our clients because legal aid only handles felonies. And everyone's talking about the changes in the bail reform and how now with certain crimes people don't have to have bail, but there's also components that people don't know about. So it's
Okay.
important to share that information, especially as an organization that deals with that population.
Yes.
Which is
The people who have prior felonies. So,
Okay.
for example, you can now register to vote without a problem. That's
Right,
important,
right. We-
especially
right.
for
I
this
did.
year.
Yeah,
Worked for me.
we definitely keep banging that and letting people know about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yes. So one of the things we came up with is to have a Know Your Rights forum with all the 5 cities of Westchester County.
That's great.
So the first city that we are going to do it with is in Yonkers. We came up with the flyer. It's right here.
Okay.
I'll hand it to everyone so you can see.
Make sure you send it to us so we can,
Send it to me digitally.
Okay.
yeah, so we can have it digitally.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And give you one, AJ.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. So basically, what we're doing is Know Your Rights. We're going to have criminal attorneys there. We're trying to work out the census portion, probably on the side, and voter registration. So, and it's not just for people who support the new reform. If you're somewhere in the middle, or if you're against it, or if you just don't know anything, this is the opportunity to get information and to become more informed. So the first event is January 16th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Riverfront Library right by the train station. We're going to have free food. So I want everyone to come out and support and just learn. For me, it doesn't matter where you fall. Just come and learn something and meet people and just get a better understanding of your rights, the laws, and just learn. That's it. That's all I want.
So while I have you here, a lot of people are not. Everyone's not familiar with the Legal Aid Society of Westchester, who they are, what they do, who is the Legal Aid Society, and why are they important?
The Legal Aid Society, they are basically the public defenders of Westchester County. So when someone is charged with a felony, they are assigned legal aid unless they have unless legal aid has a reason to conflict out of the case. Say per se they are representing another person that would be a conflict. So that's why they would conflict out. They only handle felonies, so 18B attorneys handle the misdemeanors. Legal aid also oversees the 18B program. They have a separate division that oversees those attorneys. They provide what's called CLEs, which is continuing legal education credits, because lawyers have to keep abreast of all the laws, so we have to get credits per year in order to keep our license. So legal aid does it. They also have an immigration department, because all these, basically the law is intertwined. A lot of times when people have a criminal case, they might have a case in family court. So we have a case in immigration, because sometimes people are undocumented and they might get arrested, so it kind of goes hand in hand. So legal aid also has an investigative division, and they have a social work division. So they're becoming, we always had those, but we're becoming more holistic.
Absolutely. Any questions, Damon? Quick question. Or Mike, 'cause, I know Mike might have a good
So we're talking about the new bail reform, and I think on, I believe, CBS, there's a lot of questions around the new bail reform and the fact that with the recent multiple assaults in Brooklyn, and they've used the case that Michael Sussman is representing the suspect, they are talking about looking at the bail reform.
reforming
law. Reforming it,
the bail
actually.
reform, yeah.
Yeah,
Andrew
revisited,
Stewart
yeah.
Cousins was on CBS,
Yeah.
and they're thinking about looking at it, and being even in the law enforcement community, they're questioning how, if it's a nonviolent, and maybe we could talk about it, because if it's supposed to be nonviolent, which they said they're supposed to be nonviolent offenses, how are people being let out with no bail that are accused of violent offenses?
Like, man, I think they said manslaughter is actually
Right.
one
Well,
of
different
the-
reports. Like they reported a guy vehicular manslaughter,
Yeah, well, Charles
and
said manslaughter itself
they let him go without bail. A lot of the assaults that you have seen in the Jewish communities in Brooklyn, a lot of the people, if they caught the people, they were let go without bail. So they are questioning now, how do we, or people
Supposed
don't
to be
understand the
low-level
law.
crimes.
Yeah,
It's
people are
supposed to be
not
low-level crimes.
abreast on the law to understand if it's supposed to be nonviolent offenses. How are these people that are charged with violent offenses are let out without bail?
And I don't really want to comment on that, because
Right.
I am planning on running for the nomination for Yonkers City Court Judge. So because of judicial ethics, there's certain
Oh,
things
okay.
I can't comment on. Even though I would love to, I can't comment
Right,
on it.
right.
So I try to stay
right.
safe. But I would say that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have the forum, because those questions will be answered.
Okay.
And I have been inviting politicians.
Right.
I did invite Andrea Stewart Cousins. I just saw her literally maybe half hour ago.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully she will attend, and you'll get answers to all your questions.
Okay.
Are you
Mike.
gonna have a Hispanic interpreter?
I have to work with legal aid on that, but that's a great point.
Mike, you would like to?
Well, I think the way the law is structured, you're talking
Yeah, pull the
about,
mic a little-
you know,
pull it-
a number of things which appear on their face to have violent components are also being charged as misdemeanors. I think the major issue with this law is that you're going to eventually see a lot of overcharging because of it. That's already a problem. Overcharging means you're going to have people who charged with felony offenses, even though the people know they can't prove a felony, because they want to
You wanna
get
keep
around.
it,
They want to get around the bail
Right.
reform law. That's my
Right.
principal concern. I think at the end of the day, well, that's going to be the major shakeout. That's not what anybody's talking about now, of course. Now
No.
we're talking about incidents where somebody's charged with a misdemeanor because, you know, many assaults, as you know, which don't have serious, you know, somebody pushes a person, whether they be Jewish, whoever they be, in the
Right.
back.
Right.
They don't really seriously injure the
Injure.
person.
Right.
You don't have a
Right.
felony charge.
Exactly.
You have a misdemeanor charge
Right.
because
Right.
of the nature of the injury. So
Right.
now you have somebody who's got a misdemeanor who falls within the compass of the new law.
Right.
And people are looking at it and saying, God, look what they did. They took their pocketbook. That's a violent charge.
Mm-hmm.
But in our law, I mean, there are gradations. That's not really
Right.
viewed as a violent crime, although I understand people who think it is.
Right.
It's not viewed that way because it can't be charged that way because you have to have a component of injury.
Right.
So,
They also were saying, Charles Stern was also saying
bless you.
some domestic violence incidences, charges also fall within that non-bail thing. We was reading.
Animal abuse. It's a lot.
Well,
a
that
lot.
was that. Well, see, that was I had told somebody. You know, I mean, you have to look at the New York State penal law.
That's exactly right.
You have to look
That's
at the
the
penal
beginning of
law,
it.
right? You have to maybe you might have to restructure the penal law to match the bail reform law, or
Yeah.
or go back and match the bail reform law to match the penal law. So I mean, it's a good idea, because we understand how those that push for criminal justice reform and understand how black, brown, and even poor white fall into the system and how this system works from the arrest to the DA's office to the penitentiary or jail, knows that it needs to be reformed. But I also think, as I was talking to Tasha Young on the way down here, that the politicians have to talk to the people that actually are in it, and instead of making laws, because they don't do it. They don't talk to black law enforcement. They don't ask us to sit at the table and recognize what's going on in the system. So when they make these laws and they make these mistakes, it really falls on them. But it makes the effort of criminal justice reform look bad, and we need to work on that. We definitely need to work on that.
So as a follow-up, I just want to say you at the event, the Know Your Rights event, you said panelists will include specialists and lawyers who will discuss various topics, including the effects of criminal justice legislation and voters registration. So, there will be people there that will be able to answer all questions.
Yes, there will be attorneys there. We will have people there to register everyone to vote. So if you have a prior felony, I'm encouraging everyone to come out so we could help you register to vote, because it's very important. We're adding components to the program. We might do something involving census. We're just making sure that everything is right so we service the people correctly.
If someone listening to this right now is just hearing about the Legal Aid Society for the first time and you need your services, how do they contact you? Contact the Legal Aid Society of Westchester.
So the number for Legal Aid Society is 914-286-3400. They did have a website, but they took it down because they're just trying to revamp it. But again, the number is 914-286-3400. And if you want someone to contact regarding this event, I'll give my business email out. It's my first name, Karen, my last name, BESTESQ, @gmail.com. And if you can't make the Yonkers event, as I said, we're doing 4 more. One's going to be in Peekskill, One's going to be in Mount Vernon, White Plains, and New Rochelle. So I will get you the information for those events also. So
Those are not scheduled yet, right? You just
well, I'm confirming Peekskill because there was a little issue with that.
Okay.
And I just spoke to Lyndon Williams about confirming the location for Mount Vernon. But
Okay.
I have the dates for those two almost perfectly set. I just want to make sure there's no issues.
Okay. So now, real quick, because I can't let you mentioned things I can't let you leave without mention. You said so you are running again for Yonkers City Court.
I'm seeking the nomination for Yonkers City
Okay,
Court
so
Judge.
when is the next seat up? When is the next election for that?
The primary is June 23rd.
Oh, so this is
Oh.
this
Yeah.
so it's
Oh, it's
another
around
one.
the
Okay.
corner. Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
So
okay.
There's
okay.
technically there's 3 seats. So Judge Daly, who I love, he is seeking re-election, and recently Judge Brendan McGrath, he was just appointed. He was Inspector General, I believe.
Yeah, from the city of Yonkers.
For
Yeah.
the city of Yonkers. So he was appointed by Mayor Spano. So more than likely he will be endorsed, and there's 1 seat for the endorsement where there's no incumbent.
Okay. So have to have you come back on and talk about that. Is there anything else I didn't ask you about legal aid, about the Know Your Right Forum, about any of this that you want to get out?
Not that I could think of. I just want to say thank you, and please everyone just try to come out. It's so important. I'm the person that says you can't complain about a problem if you're not trying to solve it.
Absolutely.
And just coming is part of the solution.
Absolutely.
I send a lot of people regularly to Legal Aid Society, to the one in
White Plains.
no, that's what the question I'm going to ask. I send them to the one in Yonkers and Getty Square. It's,
We don't have an office.
there is a Legal Aid Society of the Hudson Valley. in
They're
Yonkers.
totally different.
That was the question
That
I
they're
was going
totally
to ask you.
different, yes.
Are they 2 different entities?
2 different.
Okay.
Legal Aid only handles criminal and immigration. I think the Hudson Valley, I think they handle family.
They do housing, family,
Yes.
criminal, and
Totally different.
Okay.
Yes, completely
That's
different.
civil versus criminal.
Correct.
Okay.
got it.
And immigration.
Got it.
So
Well, we want to thank you for coming, and feel free when you have announce the other dates and stuff.
Okay.
Let us know,
Perfect.
and make sure you send me the flyers digitally. If you want to come on later on and talk about your candidacy for the seat, definitely get in touch with us.
thank you so much.
luck
I
to
really
you.
appreciate
Good
it.
luck.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Good luck.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you for the information.
Okay, good night.
Thank you.
Now we are going to pay some bills real quick. We have our advertiser. We are offering 30-second slots on the radio show now, and this is our first one, TY Associates.
Ty Associates is a BBB accredited financial firm serving Mid-Hudson, New York, and the surrounding areas. From tax return preparation and amended returns to refund planning, we offer reliable financial services with keen attention to detail. Since 1998, we have proven the quality of our service with our clientele reaching across all 50 states. Ty Associates manages the Mets. Money, energy, time, and space. Let us go to bat for you. Ty Associates. Tying it all together.
That is our commercial for Ty Associates. Let me close that. Let me close that window. There we go. Oops.
No.
Go back. I switched screens. There we go. So, turn that off. Okay. Yes. So, now, I just want to say, so yes, we are offering 30-second spots now on the People Before Politics radio show. If you would like to advertise your business or your organization, or you're a candidate running for office and you would like to advertise on the People Before Politics radio show, definitely hit us at advertisewithbw@gmail.com or blackwestchester@gmail.com. Someone asked, it was like, we're not going to be like regular radio where every 5 minutes there are commercials. we will probably never
Every
have
30-minute slot.
We will probably never have more 30-second slots, and we'll probably never have more than 6, which would be 3 minutes.
I don't know why they get mad. They
6:30.
still listen to the radio, right? They
Yeah,
still
yeah,
watch
yeah,
TV
yeah,
with
yeah,
commercials
yeah.
every 5 minutes.
Right.
Why you gonna
right.
get mad at us trying to make some money, right? Because that's how you generate revenue is with advertisement, right? So you're gonna get mad because we won. Every 15 minutes we run a commercial. We gotta it has to get paid. And if they're asking, why don't they take out an ad? Why don't they support this, man? Why don't they support this? This was usually supported with the overtime from Westchester County Jail. They don't understand that, man. Like hard work and tears was put into keeping this thing up on air. So support black business.
And bail reform just killed that, huh?
Exactly.
And more overtime.
Exactly. Seriously, literally, we have more officers than inmates. I don't know how they're going to work this out. We're down. When I started in 1990, there were almost 3,000 inmates in the facility. The last I checked, we were under 600. We were under 600. So, at least in Westchester, and I was told
It's all over the country.
Yeah, it's all over the country.
State.
Yeah,
No
all
question.
over the state.
No question.
The jail population, rightly so, because we spent a lot of money on corrections, and we really didn't correct people's lives. And and I'm not just saying this because I could leave any day. I've been saying this for a long time. It has always been cheaper to send a young kid to community college than house him in jail for 2 years. So our priorities have been messed up. But we still have to, like the money that we're not spending in jail, we still have to have vocational programs. We still have to have, we still have to have different avenues that our youth and grown adults can find skills to earn a living, so they don't have to go back to crime and violence.
Sandy Barnaby said, under 600, that is wonderful and amazing.
Well, there's a lot of people that will not agree.
And Jack Toon said, how are you going to get mad at black folks trying to make some money? So anyway, that's the first one, our first advertisers, but we're doing advertisement now. So definitely reach out to us if you would like to advertise on the show. So moving on, again, we have our guest today, famed civil rights attorney Michael Sussman, who is defending Grafton Thomas. And just so for people that for people I don't know that just don't know what we're talking about, he was accused last week's Hanukkah a party attack in Muncie, New York. According to the New York Post, he was indicted of he has been indicted, and the number of victims in this hate crime, what they're calling a hate crime, increased to 6. The officials said Friday. The grand jury in Rockland County voted to indict Grafton Thomas, who's 37, on 6 counts of attempted murder in the 2nd degree, 3 counts of assault in the 1st degree, 3 counts of attempted assault in the 1st degree, 2 counts of burglary in the 1st degree, and what they're calling mass slashing on December 28th. I'm sorry. He, the judge set a $5 million bail, and if he is to be released, the news reported that he would have to stay away from the victims and the rabbi's house and turn in any firearms he may own. He has so far pled not guilty to the charges, and basically is that accurately assess the situation? I mean,
that's the state side.
That's the state. Okay.
I mean, none of this is funny, and I don't.
No.
I really, and I understand that it may. When I say that, it may seem humorous. I don't mean it that way. There are federal hate crime charges that were brought through a complaint
Governor Cuomo said that there should be some
Domestic terrorism.
terrorism as well.
Right, that was, but that's the rhetoric side of it.
Right,
The-
right,
the-
right,
the-
right.
The charging side of it is that the federal government, through the U.S. Attorney's Office, before that indictment came down, which came down on Friday, the indictment you just
Right, right.
referenced in the state court, they filed a criminal complaint on Tuesday, I believe it was, but it might have been Monday, in which they charged Mr. Thomas with a number of hate crimes, which can be heard concurrently with the state charges. We have a system in which you can be charged. Really? So you can be charged federally, and you can be charged in the state court. There's no double jeopardy.
Really? I didn't know
And
that.
that's why I'm
Wow.
bringing it up, because most people, many people might think there is, there's not. And you can be charged with something as a hate crime, and you can be charged with something otherwise in the state system, as you've explained it. So that's where Mr. Thomas is. The bail issue is a bit of a non-issue here. As you mentioned, $5 million bail. His mother is an RN at Lincoln Hospital, where she's been working as an RN for 20 years. His father is married to a Mormon in Utah, and I don't see them raising bail of $5 million anytime soon.
Now I want to, so when I mentioned that I saw in the news that you were representing this gentleman, a lot of people were like, wow, why is Mike Sussman representing this gentleman? Isn't he Jewish? Isn't his brother a rabbi? How can he represent this individual?
So the answers are yes. I have a brother in Chicago who's been a rabbi for 30 years. So I am Jewish. But as I have many cases in the region dealing with anti-Semitism, I've been a civil rights lawyer dealing with a range of issues, and I don't confine myself to issues that directly affect in a negative way the Jewish community or any community.
Mhm.
My concern in this case, I was called by the pastor of the mother of Mr. Thomas, Pastor Wendy Page, who's a United Methodist pastor in Harriman.
Mm-hmm.
And, Sunday night, she got a hold of me a week ago tonight
Mm-hmm.
and told me that Mr. Thomas was profoundly mentally ill, has been profoundly mentally ill for a very long time, had received Social Security disability insurance for his mental illness when he was in his mid-20s. He's now, as you said, 37. And that auditory hallucinations and other serious manifestations of mental illness have characterized him throughout. So as you said earlier, someone's talking about domestic terrorism, someone's talking about
Yeah.
anti-Semitism. I'm concerned that the individual receive a fair trial, which includes use of mental health defenses where they exist and are well predicated, well premised. And rather than have a rush to judgment, what I thought was important was to get a complete picture of who the gentleman is and what, in fact, motivated him, if anything.
Okay.
So that's where we are. My religion plays no role in this, quite honestly, for me as a lawyer. It motivates me, if at all, to try to do social justice, and it's been my motivation for more than 40 years as a lawyer. That has no religious line, one way or the other.
Well, I already knew the answer to that question, but
Yeah.
I heard people mention it, and I just wanted to give you a chance to address it, definitely. Another thing, again, people are like, if they're hearing now that he's been mentally ill for a long time, why hasn't there been efforts to get him help before now? Like, why?
Yeah, like what's Kendra's law?
Well,
What is what?
Kendra's law. I keep hearing it. Why wasn't Kendra's law applied? And I don't know what that means.
okay. So let me try to explain it the best I can, but I want everybody to be very clear. I've had this case for a week. I've spent probably
Right.
80 hours this week on the case,
Right.
but I have a lot to still learn, as anybody would know about a case of this complexity. What I can tell you is that Grafton Thomas is one of those people, and he's not the only person like this, who's lived a very isolated life, as best I can tell. He's been sort of you can say it, a throwaway. His mother has deep love for him and has housed him for many of these years, but she lives in Greenwood Lake, which is in the county you and I live in, Damon, in Orange County.
Exactly.
She works in the Bronx. She
Oh,
commutes
so-
3 hours a day to work. She works 12-hour shifts. She works 5 shifts a week, and he's home. He's essentially home by himself. He has no violent criminal history that anybody's been able to find. There are some very petty matters in his past criminal nature, but none of them amount to a hill of beans. And from what I could tell, those people who knew him and know him, nobody saw this level of decompensation before now. I do think from speaking with him and from the psychiatric review I've had from one psychiatrist who's seen him and another forensic scientist who saw him, he has very serious auditory hallucinations, which is something that can drive someone in, I mean, to say crazy ways is not an exaggeration, crazy ways. Why no one did anything more is probably because he never did anything which suggested this level
Exactly.
Okay.
of behavior.
There you go.
However, quote unquote crazy he may have seemed to some people, or
He didn't
aberrant,
act on
he
it
didn't
like that,
act in
yeah.
a way that gave people a merit or warrant to do more. And now, tragically, we're here. But from my point of view, as a civil rights lawyer, the last thing I want to see is the image of an African-American man, 37 years old, being portrayed as a domestic terrorist with profound anti-Semitic intentions, leading to all of the stereotypes that we have seen too frequently.
Exactly, and
Okay.
you hit it. You hit it on the nail because of the fact that I am really appalled, and I think black people, especially in the Democratic Party, man, I really don't get
Thank you.
how we get played all the time by Governor Cuomo
Yep.
for
Yep.
him to push the political rhetoric when there is evidence that the man is mentally unstable, has mental problems. But Governor Cuomo is the same person that has closed all the mental hospitals in New York under his watch, which in the result are leading to a lot of mentally ill people committing crimes, not able to get the proper help
Yep.
and the proper watch and the proper medication, and all that goes with dealing with mentally ill people in New York State. And just like you said, Mike, you know, they're going to try to make this man the poster child for a lot of the other incidences
Well,
that are
sorry,
going on
Larry.
in New York.
Sorry.
Well, they did. They did. Homeland Security, you know, warned everybody in the United States of upcoming assaults, you know, in the Jewish community, and
Right.
they highlighted this gentleman
Exactly.
as basically the scapegoat.
Right.
Well, you know, Damon, you and I have known each other for a decade, and we came together around a case called the DJ Henry case. And the two situations obviously have profound differences, but what is similar is that when DJ was shot, that day, the police chief said he was shot because he was running over two members of law enforcement. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Mr. Alagno? And the family came from Boston, from Massachusetts, in great grief, and this is what they were told. It's sort of, we were talking earlier, the official story about the killing of this gentleman in Iran, okay? He poses an imminent threat. DJ was
Exactly.
posing an imminent threat, okay?
Exactly.
Now, what did we find out? We find out he's driving at 8 miles an hour. We find out that he's driving so slowly that a large man, a man as large as you once were, is able to jump is able to jump on his vehicle, control a weapon, and his vehicle hood is about I have it in my house still, the car. It's still in my house.
Wow.
4.5 feet is the hood. And he's able to grab on and shoot with the car moving.
Right.
And shoot 3 times and kill the man, shoot him, hit him each time.
Right.
And all I'm saying is the other police officer wasn't being run over. He was trying to shoot that police officer, right?
Exactly.
So all I'm trying to say, and I don't bring this into this lightly. I've thought a lot about whether there's a connection, and the connection may only be in my mind. But the connection is that before we know, we come to these judgments, and the judgments become defining of the situation.
Exactly.
You have 90,000 Jewish people, and this is an interesting story, getting together and celebrating the end of the reading of the Torah, which is every 7 years you read the Torah from beginning to end.
Right.
A person close to me was setting up that day for their event at MetLife Stadium. And no one was allowed to bring a cutting knife, which they need to set up, into MetLife Stadium.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You have all these tech people who have to set up everything. They need cutting
Tape,
knives
yeah,
to set
tape,
everything
yeah.
up. They're not allowed to bring in the knife because this man allegedly used a machete-type knife and injured seriously several of the people. This is what's alleged.
Right.
So we can't have pandering and hysteria. And that, to me, is very important because it begins to stereotype people all over again. We don't want you in our midst.
Right.
Because we don't know what you're capable of. Who are you? How are we defining you?
Right.
Well,
And not only that, like, where was Governor Cuomo when the police officers called Kenneth Chamberlain a nigger and killed him? Where is the hate crime? Right? Where is the terrorism? They didn't call that terrorism. And that was terrorism.
They
That was
terrorized
police-
that man in his house.
They terrorized him for an hour and then went in, kicked in his door, and they shot him with a beanbag and shot him with a... They tased him, beanbag,
bagged him,
and then killed
shot
him. Nobody called that
No justice.
terrorism. And then the DA had the nerve to say that they used the word nigger to distract him. Right? So we constantly see the double standard when it comes to black victims and black suspects in the state of New York under Governor Cuomo.
I wanted to, and I wanted to go piggybacking off what you said. The minute I saw that you were representing him Sunday night, because I think you weren't there. You weren't. He had legal aid or something for the Saturday for the initial court. But the minute I saw you, I called Damon, and we was like, we have to get you on because this is a time where and this they criminalize, you know what I'm saying? They us, whether we're the victim, whether we're not, whether we're the assailant, you know, they use the media criminalizes us, and I wanted you to be able to, you know, speak, and we had the opportunity to get you, so I wanted to take advantage of that and bring you to the People Before Politics radio show.
Well, you know, Mr. Woodson, you know I appreciate the chance, and I don't back away from it. I have a very close friends who operate a Mexican restaurant where I sing every Friday night my karaoke, and we've been doing it for a couple of years.
I got to show up there one day. Hear that?
Come up. I'd be happy to hear you. Happy to hear you. You won't be happy to hear me, but that's another story. But anyway, you know, on Friday night, a gentleman who's very close to me said to me, you know, you're going to make a lot of enemies with this. And I said, you know, I've made a lot of enemies with everything, but that's not the standard. Lawyers can't be putting their hands up and saying what's the most popular thing to do. I said to people, if you had a surgeon and a very gentleman or a woman who committed allegedly a very heinous crime needed your surgical assistance, are you going to withhold it on the theory that they're a bad person? Really? No, not really. That's not the way we do things. This gentleman needs avid legal defense and honestly needs his story, because that's what happens in mental illness cases. The story has to be explained. And as I said before, we're still learning a lot about his life. And honestly, Damon, you know, to go back to something you're reverting to, and I was telling my children this the other day, some of them, we have this profound racism in the society, but we don't think it has effects.
Right.
How absurd. And what the effects are going to be differential, depending on who the person is who's exposed to it and what they're exactly exposed to. But racism has so many forms.
Right.
Exactly.
No, so many forms. Your parents are deprived. Is that going to have, what impact will that have on you? This is not to apologize for what somebody does, but we have to have an explanation. We have to have an understanding. We can't just say this is just what happened. Why did it happen? What were the influences? And when you start picking that apart, in this particular instance, you'll see all of it. You'll see all of it. And that's what, for me, that truth-telling process is the most important thing. You know, when I did the Yonkers case, and we had a 92-day trial about racism in Yonkers, people say, was it a success? I say to them, read the transcript. Know the racial history of the city. It's there to know now. It wasn't there to know before, except if you experienced it.
Right.
And then you experienced your part of it. But the whole
Exactly.
picture is in that 700-page decision by Judge Sand. A lot of the picture of how people were steered in school, that how people couldn't get the most basic opportunities, whatever their intellectual ability, how their housing patterns were so steered by government. So all of this is about truth-telling. And I'm going to try to bring that same thing to this case. However uncomfortable it may make people, it makes them uncomfortable.
Right.
They want to just blame someone, let's get over with this.
Exactly.
But what are we going to learn from that?
One of our listeners, Charles Stern, a good friend of the show, and he's a guest co-host sometimes, he said Cuomo is starting to look bad on this. I'm glad Mike Sussman is defending this guy.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate what you have to say. And, you know, what Damon said a minute ago, I just want to correct in this way, and I don't mean it as a criticism of you. The movement against mental hospitals started in the 1960s and 70s, okay? Large-scale mental hospitals. It's not something that Cuomo started. So just be clear, because it's not. His father was in the middle of it. It started. No, I'm serious.
So two
It started,
generations.
yeah,
Right.
It started with something called Willowbrook.
Okay.
Willowbrook was a lawsuit brought by people who were confined in very inhumane conditions in our state mental facilities. And there was a tremendous need, just like in the bail reform situation, where we're dealing with profound inequality, whereas, you know, we have people serving as pretrial detainees longer than they would serve if they were convicted.
Exactly.
And that's because they're poor.
Exactly.
So there was a reason to have what we call deinstitutionalization. But the problem is there was supposed to be a real safety net run by counties throughout the state, funded by the state, so as to deal with individuals who had profound problems. Monitoring, accountability. Are you taking your meds? I went to this gentleman's shack in Wurtsboro, and I found years' worth of untaken pills in pill bottles. He was prescribed new 30 pill scripts each month. He didn't take any of them. They were all laying around. Anybody who would have done a home visit would have said, where are your pills?
Exactly.
Why are you taking them?
Exactly.
And the answer is no. So we need a system that's in place. And yeah, I think Governor Cuomo, quite honestly, 3 terms is enough. You know?
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
it's enough.
yes.
I mean, and see, the Democratic Party, which depends, and I say this respectfully, and he depends on people of color to keep him where he is.
Exactly.
He stitched together a coalition of people
Yes, he
who
did.
keep him, and that's a critical
Yes, he
part
did.
of his coalition. And I say to him, you're not really representing that group of people in our society for many of the reasons you're talking about.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And but see, we get caught in the alley shuffle, and politics gets in the way of justice, you know, and they talk about that they're giving justice to the needy and the poor, but they're literally playing politics, no different than the loss of the Mount Vernon Hospital. You know, politics. You know, I mean, they could have saved that hospital, but they didn't.
People before politics, people before profit.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
All right?
Exactly.
So you just changed that one word and you explain Mount Vernon Hospital.
Right, absolutely.
Well, exactly. And really, I don't think they could do anything with the hospital. It's a done deal. They bought the new property. From what I was told, they already got the money. They got the $44 million to do what they got. I can't see them doing anything. Maybe trying to add a couple of services, but that's not in the budget. So you know, we'll see. We'll see.
They're going to have a town hall tomorrow. Anybody who has questions about, or you know, they're supposed to be providing answers. And
Who is the hospital going to be there?
I don't know.
If Montefiore not going to be there, it's a waste of time, right? Because if they're not saying It is a waste of time. People that's listening, if the hospital is not going to be there to answer questions about what they're doing, you have wasted your time.
And to listen to the community. They answer questions.
Exactly.
People and what people's concerns are.
Exactly.
We went through this in Port Jervis, where they closed the maternity center at the Port Jervis Hospital. We went through it 9 years ago, and Cuomo was governor, and we challenged them in court. And the Department of Health approved of that closing, even though there was no maternity center within half an hour away, and there are a lot of poor people in Port Jervis. And now, just close it up. And that was it. People before profits. That was my slogan there.
Oh, wow.
Lorraine.
Yeah, so anyway, they're having if you want to go, they're having a town hall tomorrow, and they're having a rally Friday at the hospital. But they're going to have.
Wait, hold on. Why are you rallying at the hospital when it's clear? And I hope the unions are hearing this. I hope the leaders are hearing this. The only person that can change it is Governor Cuomo. So what are you rallying at the hospital for? It should be buses going to Cuomo's office. It was clear months ago when they announced it. And I put it in the article when we spoke to Charles Barron, and he said it straight. It's Cuomo. It's Cuomo. It's Cuomo. Why are you rallying at the hospital? See, this is the political alley shuffle, using people because they fail to address. I don't care who doesn't like what I said. If you're not taking it to Cuomo, you are not doing anything.
Distractions.
Well, there is a portion of planned on. They're going to release. The people that are in the organizing committee. They're informing the residents tomorrow. They're having a press conference and rally Friday. They are having planning to go to Albany, take buses to Albany. They're going to explain all the things how residents can get involved in what they're doing, what information that they've obtained so far, and come back to the residents. That's what
tomorrow's a step.
That's what.
In other words,
That's
you're saying tomorrow's
Is
a
a
step.
step.
To
right.
Albany.
So tomorrow.
It's a detour, maybe.
So that's what.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that's what tomorrow's supposed to be. So.
But the only thing I'm saying is anybody
Right.
Anybody that is in state government, your senators, your assemblymen, already knew in September that it was Cuomo. Like this is not like if you're in state government, right? You know that the buck stops with Cuomo. He's the one that will be able to change it. Now we're in January of the next year, right? After they already bought the property, allegedly already got the money. The state is
I know at least half of it.
the state is $6 billion in the hole, right? $6 billion in the hole. Do you honestly think they're going to change the deal? And where are they going to get the money from? Because if that was the case, your senators, your assemblymen, your congressmen, your D.C. senator should have got money years ago, back in 2010, when it was reported that the hospital was in dire needs, and that's why they took on the contract with the Westchester County inmates so they could pay the damn bills. So all this that they're talking about is nonsense, and they're playing good people that care, and they're playing politics, and they're alley shuffling when they could have handled this a long time ago. Explain it. Explain how a little town up the river can get $84 million for a brand new hospital, 30,000 people. We got 70,000 people in Mount Vernon. They get $44 million in an outpatient clinic. Somebody's doing their job up there. And what did the lieutenant governor say? What did she say? Healthcare is the number one priority, but it's not priority in Mount Vernon from the state. But nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that. You know why? Because they pissed Governor Cuomo off. Mount Vernon ain't getting jack. So they're doing the dance. They're doing the dance. Come on, man. We should have been talking about this months ago. But yet they want to blame Andre Wallace for signing paperwork that he didn't sign. Lyndon, Williams. So come on, we're doing our people dirty. We're doing our people dirty.
John Carlo said, Damon, more people should be saying that. He said, you're on point. Charles Stern said, Damon's on point. Hospitals are regulated by New York State. Cuomo is the decider. There was a few other. Someone said Mike Sussman should defend the black man from Long Island accused of killing the white Italian jogger. That dude is mentally ill, and he looks like he doesn't know where he is.
What, the mayor?
He's talking about the
the person.
slayer.
Oh.
Yeah, the man from Long Island, the black man who is accused of killing the white Italian jogger.
Irwin said,
You talking about that? Listen, I don't think he did that, man. I really don't.
Well, that's what he said. He said that dude is mentally ill and looks like he doesn't know where he is. A couple of people tuned in. Charles Stern, Nas Duncan, Judge Karen Best is tuned in now. John Carlo, Jack Toon, Aisha Taylor. What's going on? Dawn C. Wright said, good evening, AJ. Good evening, Damon. Nesto Acosta, DJ Nesto from Virginia. Kevin D. McGill. Carlton Beckford Dozier, big supporter. Patricia DeLuca, used to be my former editor at King Magazine. Robin Elizabeth. I think I got everybody. Rob Ruggiero, I'm not sure if I pronounced it right. Joanne Campadani, Kevin Bunch, Matumbo Muhammad, Robert Brown Jr., Kwalik Drew, Lynn Woodley, and everybody else who was tuned in.
Eddie Ortiz, Maria Morero, and Erwin Vasquez said, kudos to the attorney for representing a black man as a Jewish man. Now that's American.
Yes.
Yeah, Mike, let me ask you a question. You've been on the forefront of a lot of civil rights cases, and an activist. Is there a need for a resurgence of true activism in New York? Because it's almost like we're going in circles. I haven't been in it as long as you.
Let me just say a couple of things to you, because of course the answer to your question is yes, but there are some caveats that are important. What we have fallen victim to often is a politics of personality. And unless and until we can focus on issues and have persistence to follow through those issues and work together on issues that may not be your first priority, but that are important to others in the coalition, we get nowhere.
Right.
So we have a lot of people who are interested in one issue, and unless everybody's interested in that issue, then they are out.
Exactly.
The only way to have a broad coalition that can make change in our state, I was meeting yesterday with New York City Housing Authority tenants down in the Chelsea neighborhood. And you know what I'm finding? New York City is privatizing public housing, right? Privatizing it, okay, at a time when there is a shortage of housing for the really poor in the society. What they're doing is getting rid of that housing which was intended for them.
Exactly.
There are so many, you're talking about hospitals in Mount Vernon. There are so many issues and a coalition which is true to bringing all of them together. When I was in Yonkers in the 80s, I litigated in schools, housing, police misconduct, municipal employment, voting, because there had never been an African American or Latino elected in the city or the county. We had to bring voting rights suits, which we did, which got districts, which allowed Herman Keith, Joe Burgess, and on and there. Andrea Stewart Carson's, that's the district that I created, that she eventually got elected in.
As a county legislator,
and she's gone on.
Herman Keith and Mayor Thomas went in it. Mayor Davis went in at the
Exactly.
At the same time.
They went the same time in 1985 as a result of our lawsuits. But what I'm trying to say is you have to have a consciousness about the synthesis, the connectivity of all these issues. And a movement to be successful has to knit together the people who care about bail reform with those who care about housing, with those who care about education, health, to see that these are all manifestations of the same consciousness of deprivation.
Right.
Okay? Now, you need leadership of that. And the leadership of that you can't get involved with a million crazy nitpicking nonsense. You need somebody who can articulate, or some bodies who can articulate that and get out with a program that is so comprehensive as to create the umbrella that will work. Now, we don't have that. Well, we don't have it. That's what I see as a huge problem. I don't care the race, the gender, the sexual orientation. I don't care who the person is. But
Right.
we need some people who can project that and be magnets for others to join.
Right. Right.
And what we instead have is selfish individual agendas. I'm going to work on this. I'm going to work on. If you're not on that, then
Many of them started that way, saying that, but they've lost their way. Along
because
the way.
a lot of them got bought off.
Yeah.
We saw
Yeah,
that in
exactly.
Yonkers. I mean,
They got jobs.
in
That was,
Yonkers,
that was the scene from one of those movies from the Black Plantation.
Oh, what
They said,
happened to them? They all got
what
government
happened to all
jobs.
the black leaders in the street, and they all got government jobs.
but that's exactly the point, and that's why I say you have to have a dedication and an independence and an understanding that it's not about you.
Right.
It cannot be about you. It cannot be about your self-aggrandizement and your advancement. It has to be about moving this whole set of issues forward. There's no better time. I mean, honestly, because it's, I don't mean to say this on the air, but what is hitting the fan.
Right.
On so
No,
many
Exactly.
and you can say it here.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you
You might
I
not
don't
want
want
to
to get
say
into that habit in front of a microphone.
Yeah.
But the point of it is, I do think this is a time, but it has to be galvanized, and there has to be a dedication, a tremendous dedication and persistence. It's not you can't be satisfied with 40 hours a week of it. It ain't going to make it happen.
No. Exactly. You're absolutely right. And
we need churches, we need unions, we need in Inwood, where I just won that upzoning case that stopped the upzoning of that neighborhood, where they're trying to gentrify the neighborhood. I went into state Supreme Court supported by a huge coalition of people, and the state Supreme Court judge said they annulled the upzoning because they're trying to gentrify one of the last affordable neighborhoods, largely Dominican neighborhood in Manhattan. And, when I went down there for the, quote, victory celebration, it was at a church. And I remembered back to Yonkers in the 80s when the ministerial alliance was one of the backbones of what we were doing. And then by about 1988 or 89, it broke apart. Okay? And then the ministers were all literally fighting with each other. We could not get the degree of unity that we needed to persist.
And then one day, I wasn't even in politics yet, but while that was going on, I walked into this small diner, out of the way little place, and who do I see? The top guy, the top pastor that was fighting, sitting there having a cup of coffee with the mayor at the time.
Well, that's what usually happens.
Yeah.
Instead of saying thus, thus says the Lord, they say, thus can you
What can you
cut a
give
check.
me? Yeah, that's
right?
what it was.
And
Well, we had some big pastors talking about some of the churches won't speak because they get money from the county, and they were not going to speak up against the county because
well that's
they
it too.
Yeah, they won't. They're not going to speak up against it and ruin their their money.
Head Start goes through churches. All sorts of programs go through churches.
They don't pay
Churches
taxes.
compete.
They don't pay taxes.
Churches compete. Who's going to get these programs? And
Exactly.
so there's a lot of intersectionality that cuts people off.
Exactly.
But we have to transcend all of it. And look, that's our challenge. But you're 100% right. And it's not about the law. It's not about lawyers saving the day. Without movements, the legal system is dysfunctional. Movements are what sustain progressive lawyering. And any lawyer who doesn't understand that, who's a progressive lawyer, has a heroism complex that's misplaced. It's not about the lawyer.
We have too many. I've said that before. We have too many moments and not enough movements.
Good. Put.
Everybody, we're fighting for the moment. You know what I'm saying? And then it's dead. You know what I'm saying? Then we're off to something else. It, like you said, it takes, if you look at the history of civil rights and everything else, there was large coalitions, large movements, and as Bob always says, there was great organization. That's what he said. There's one thing we're lacking is organization. You see
Well, that's
people
why
say
a
they're going
case
to do
like
something.
this, to swing it back though, that's why a case like this, where you're setting this African American man as a symbol of
Exactly.
anti-Semitism, and you're
Exactly.
setting back the chance of coalition building because you're building on the stereotypes. In the primetime civil rights movement, African Americans and Jews stood shoulder to shoulder. That's true historically. That's true. And it's not to say other groups weren't involved, they were. But those two groups, if you go back through the history, that's what you'll see. So all of this stuff, all of this rhetoric is a way to weaken the chance of that solidarity reemerging. And it has to reemerge for it to be successful. All right, I'm going to leave you guys alone because I can go on and on and on.
Dave.
Hey, man, it's all right, man. It's all right.
Show, and our audience
this is the
needs
show to do it.
And our audience needs to hear this.
Exactly.
This is a perfect
Exactly.
way to start off the year.
Exactly.
Everybody's talking about celebrating and New Year's and all that, and New Year's resolutions, and this is the perfect way to start off the year, informing the people. And the people need to hear that, and they need to hear it from more than just me and Dave. Because sometimes they're tired of hearing it from us, so they need to hear it from other people as well.
And Mike, you bring history to the table.
Yes.
And
Yes.
He's telling you how old I am.
Yeah,
Do I
you
look that old?
You bring
That's the
history. You
problem.
bring history to the table, and that's great because we're living in a cell phone age, and we're living in a fake news age. We're living in an age where a lot of young people that are in positions don't know the struggle. Like a lot of black law enforcement, they don't know the struggle, how it was to get blacks just to get in the police department, and the struggle it is still today to get blacks on police departments throughout Westchester County and in the northern counties. So we have to continue to struggle, and we have to continue to talk, to literally talk about it, to get people to understand that we still have to fight.
Well, I wanted to shout out to Sister Best, who was here before, because she's doing something important. I hope that the program is meaningful. But in today's day and age, what has to happen is people have to be sitting in rooms together. We have to transcend the electronics of it all. The
Absolutely.
electronics have a role,
Right.
but we have to sit and talk with each other
Exactly.
in broad
Exactly.
coalitions. Everybody's got to come over to the table and try to figure out what the priority at that you say moment is, but with a foresight as to what the other moments are going to be.
Right.
And I think, honestly, up in Eric County, I've been trying to do that on many, many issues over 30 years, 35 years now. Get people talking, coalition building, working together. And, we had that, honestly, in Yonkers in the 80s. I mean, and to some extent before I was there in the 70s. You had people really relating and visioning, and then taking the steps to make those visions happen. And that was being done in a coherent and continuous, persistent way. And that's what draws me to the struggle, the continued belief that maybe someday in my lifetime, in the remaining few years, I'll see it again, reemerging.
Right.
You got a
That'll be a
compliment.
beautiful thing.
You got a compliment on the from one of our friends of the show, Marvin Church. He said, "Michael Sussman, you have been my hero due to my late mentor, Haywood Burns."
Haywood Burns is a marvelous human being. Thank you for that. And Haywood Burns and I broke bread many times, and is a wonderful man. A lot of the people who aren't here, and this is what you talk about history. Part of the history is remembering people like Tom Atkins, who probably you don't even remember, who nobody knows who he was. He was the first African American elected to the city council in Boston ever. He became the general counsel at the NAACP after Nathaniel Jones took a seat from Jimmy Carter in the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. And Thomas Atkins, whose literacy, writing literacy, you wouldn't want to emulate, in a courtroom, phenomenal, power, came from Elkhart, Indiana, died at an early age, but tremendous hero in bringing these racial issues, justice issues, to many courts around the country. And there are so many people like this. I think back to Benton Harbor, one of the most disturbed communities in Michigan. You probably have heard of Benton Harbor, Michigan. It's probably the poorest 3 communities in America. And yet you go to that community, as I did as a civil rights lawyer, to try to deal with their school problems. and you meet people who've been in the struggle for 50 years in Benton Harbor, Michigan. Literally, every day Mary Defoe got up, and her major purpose in life was to find the child who was being disregarded by that school system and sit and advocate for that one child. And she did it for 50 years. These are the kind of people that I had the opportunity to meet and work with all over America. And they're, you know, you can't help but internalize, hopefully you can't help but internalize and gain strength from what they did. And they didn't do it through affluence, many of them. They didn't do it with anything. They did it just because they needed it to be done.
Right. Let me ask you a question. Like, you talked about a lot of the you mentioned a lot of people, and Marvin said you've been a hero to him and mentioned Haywood Burns.
Yeah.
For people watching, you said we need to get back more into activism and all that. For someone watching that wants to do that or has a question, how can they get started? Or you know, they're inspired by you. What words would you give them?
You have to coalesce with people in your community, identify people in your community, identify the issues in your community that matter. Every one of the communities we're talking about, unfortunately, there still are many, many issues that matter.
Absolutely.
And find like-minded people, and as I started saying before, sit with them. Don't just email them. Sit down in a living room, sit down at a diner, and start talking. That's how this group called Fight Back NYCHA started in New York City. I met with their leadership yesterday. They started because they saw this privatization happening. They're common people. They're every person. It's not that they have a degree from Harvard Law School. You don't need that. Right. Don't be deterred. Don't be deterred by somebody says to you, you don't have this, you don't have that. When I was 19 years old, I was senior counsel to Jimmy Carter in 1973, running for president of the United States. I didn't have a degree from anywhere yet. I went to the Democratic National Committee, and it was hollow. What you find is many of these institutions are hollow. What I mean by the word hollow is their bench is not as deep as you think. It's like the Philadelphia Eagles now playing quarterback is McCown. Who's McCown? Wentz got hurt, and the second guy is Josh McCown. The Jets cut him. How deep is it? They're trying to get to the Super Bowl. Think about it that way. Who's on the New York Knicks? You could be on the New York Knicks if you lose another 10 pounds. Okay? Point I'm making is we think about these institutions as so mighty. I've fought against all these institutions, whether it's IBM, you name it. I've sued them. People can fight back. Nobody is that powerful.
Yeah.
Right,
There
right.
you go.
And it's the illusion. It's the illusion that they're so
right.
powerful that keep
Yes.
people sitting in their chair.
Yes.
It's the illusion that they don't know enough and that
That's
there's so many experts who know more than they do that keep them sitting in their chair.
That's right.
Yeah.
Don't buy into all these illusions. You're living your life experience, and from that experience, you can understand both the sources of oppression and the sources of inspiration. And if you gather with others, you can do anything. I've seen that in our county, in community after community, where I've played a role. I've been honored to play a role, trying to help people catalyze and then move forward. So, call me. I'm happy to talk to you, but that's not the end-all, be-all.
Right.
Talk to people in your own
Exactly.
communities who are working, and get with them, and don't feel there are barriers to getting with them. Nobody's so above everybody else,
Right. That's right.
right?
Everybody's a human being.
And that's why I voted for him for New York Attorney General.
Exactly.
That's why I voted for him. Now, he didn't win, but that's why I voted for him. I just want to say that, though.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. Didn't get many votes, but I appreciate yours. But I did that because I felt, again, as you were talking about Cuomo a minute ago, I'm not concerned that my opponent was an African-American woman who I understood why Mr. Cuomo wanted her on the ticket. I understood the deal. Okay?
Those who understand politics knew why she was put there.
Okay. And, I have nothing against anyone personally. I don't like personalizing things. But the problem is that you have to look at that administration and its corruption. The failure ever to really ultimately pass any significant campaign finance reform in this state, despite 12 years of talking about it. Where is it? Okay? On and on and on. In every issue, we see the same thing, environmentally. And this is critical to our communities. We have a policy in New York State of not having fracking. You know what fracking is? Fracking is a way of developing natural gas that's very polluting. It's terribly polluting. So we say we're not going to frack, but we're going to now import all this fracked natural gas to new fossil fuel plants all over our state. And yet we're going to cut down by 50% dependency on fossil fuel in 20 years. How? The plants have 50-year lives. None of it makes any sense. And I'm challenging him on that issue. I'm in court on that issue because I feel our futures are so tied to the need for better environmental policies. And there's a brother you should get in touch with and get on your show named Merton Simpson. He's a county legislator in Albany County. And he is spearheading progressive environmental movement in the African-American community in Albany. And that's an issue we're not talking enough about. You know, you're part of this planet too. And of course, people may have more immediate concerns. I get that. But people have to gravitate towards environmentally sensitive solutions. It's an important part of the movement. And African American, Latino people have been so underrepresented in the meetings I've gone to all around the state on that issue. It's always terrible.
Yeah.
It's as if the planet's not for them too. Please.
Exactly.
But I really recommend Merton Simpson. His father was a major American artist and had a big studio in Manhattan before he passed a few years ago. And Merton is really spearheading. He was the lead plaintiff in Simpson versus State, where I represented 4,700 African American and Latinos who challenged this racially discriminatory, the state promotion system for civil service. There was a discriminatory test being used, which we struck. And we ended up getting $45 million for that class of people who had been discriminated against and not been able to get promoted in New York State throughout all the agencies.
And all the people that have benefited from that did not know nothing about that. Like you said, they don't know.
Exactly. That they're like in civil service, a test to move up in ranks. Someone fought to make sure Black and brown and Hispanic people were able to be treated fair. You know, I mean, to get to what they call to appeal the psychological. Someone fought, you know, that you can appeal the psychological because they saw that they were failing Black and brown people more than anybody else. So I mean, we have to understand we did not get here in a vacuum. That people fought, and you got in your position, and you have to do something with that position.
And you owe it to
something with
continue
that
to do
position.
something.
You owe it to other people, man.
And I always say, you know, a lot of these situations like the conditions of Mount Vernon and other cities of its kind, they are in those situations because they accept the conditions. Where the other municipalities in this county would not accept these conditions, would not accept this from the state, would not accept it from the county, they would not accept it from their representatives. Nowhere else would any other municipality accept that the MTA has closed 10 bridges or however many bridges for decades and not fixed them. Like, you have to fight. Nobody's going to give you anything. Anything that has ever happened, people have fought for. Nobody gave it to you because
the ones that could fight sell out.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, right? You got all these bridges closed at the MTA, right? The lieutenant governor runs for re-election. Elected official supporter. People come out and vote for her. Nobody questions them about the bridges. Like what are we doing, people? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's just a lack of disrespect, you know. And it's just it's mind blowing how we could just fall for the okie doke and not say, you know what, I want my community respected like every other community is respected.
We deserve this.
There's no competition for your vote. You have to get back to the basic situation that you have. All of these things, to me, derive from that. You have no, quote, Republican Party in this state worth a damn. You don't. You have no third party really worth a damn. I ran on the Green Party line, but the Green Party's not organizing. They don't organize. They run candidates. You have to organize. When I told them you got to organize in the communities, you know, year to year, moment to moment, and then maybe you could win an election, they looked at me like I was crazy. We run elections. What do you mean you run elections? On what basis? You're not doing anything to serve the people.
Exactly.
Remember those words. That's what Huey talked about. Serve the people.
Exactly.
That's the basis of politics. Left politics, progressive politics, is about serving the people. That's
And
the basic
educating them,
issue.
educating them.
Okay?
But did you see the article? Now they're trying to raise for the minor parties.
Yeah, of course,
To get-
200,000
Yeah,
to try to stop them at all, which is a waste of their time because those parties are going nowhere anyway, frankly. If they were going anywhere, I could understand them making something of it, but it's not. It's a joke. But the tragedy, we're coming back to your point, though, Damon, is that the people you're talking about do not actually have a choice. Unless
Right.
they make the choice.
Exactly.
And that's what we were talking about before, about starting a movement which could provide some real
Exactly.
choice.
Exactly.
Because right now, where are they going?
Exactly.
You either join the club or you're, as Woodson said, you're out.
Exactly.
You know, you said it yourself. If you're not going to participate with us, you ain't going to get any goodies.
Exactly.
right.
Exactly.
So that's the justification for going along.
Right.
But
Right.
the problem is, you're still at the bottom of the line. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. I don't want to take too much of your time.
So
with my
I
meanderings.
wanted to give you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I wanted to give you another opportunity. Anything that you wanted to address specifically to this case and your candidate. I wanted you to be able to use your time here to whatever you need to do as far as that's concerned.
Well, the main thing about the case, I'm just asking people to keep an open mind and let the evidence that's available about the gentleman, his conditions, his circumstances, and whatever happened that night come out. I feel there's a huge amount of pandering, and that pandering, which takes a lot of rhetorical forms, is very destructive of due process. It's very destructive of our legal system and the rights accorded there. And I want Mr. Thomas to have a fair opportunity to use the defenses that are available and that are justified in his case. And obviously it's not for me to decide that. I'm not the judge. But I think that has to come out.
Is there still a possibility? You said it? Is there still a possibility for him to have those federal charges upon him?
They're
The
on him.
domestic-
They are upon him.
They are.
They indicted him on those
They didn't
charges?
indict him. They filed the complaint.
They
But they
filed-
will indict him on those.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
sure to
that's
follow.
sad.
And I've said to them, why don't you hold off until you can review all these. I have thousands of pages of meandering writings by this gentleman where there's no reference to anything anti-Semitic at all. It's just, honestly, an incoherent mass.
Why that's important is because I've been reading
The
about
opposite.
all the pages about anti-Semitic and Hitler and all of these things. That's what's in the media. That's what they're
One little
reporting.
thing, and that's all. And they're
Let me
blowing
tell
it
you
up.
what I saw in literally reading about 2,000 pages. I saw a picture of a swastika, and this is what was written next to it. This was once a symbol of prosperity, which is a true statement, that became corrupted into a symbol of destruction. That was a pretty lucid statement. That's not anti-Semitic.
Right.
Not anti-Semitic.
No, right.
He went online, apparently, or browsing about various German Hitler and this and that. If I saw in my review of these pages anything anti-Semitic, I would tell Sid, that was maybe part of his obsession, his mental illness. In what I have seen, it's not there. Now, the day I heard about the diaries you're referring to, Woodson, I asked for those diaries from the federal prosecutors. I said, let me see them. I want to see them. I still haven't gotten them. Okay. So I can't comment on them directly because I haven't read them.
Right.
But I can tell you that we went to this place before the feds got there, before they had a search warrant, and I got the material there, and I got boxes of material, which now I've turned over to them.
Right.
Okay, and which they're going to copy and give back to me. And I'll tell you, going through that material, and I'll make it available to anyone to come look at it because I want dispelled the notion, and I want elevated the truth. You see, you're saying facts, fake news, and you're 100% on that, Damon. And we're at a point, all of us. It's not, and this doesn't have anything to do with anybody's race or origin or anything. We're all at a point where it's very hard to know what's true and what's not.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And we all have to try to search within ourselves to have the discipline to want to know. Because if we don't want to know, then where are we? We're nowhere. Just throw up the dice and whatever it is, it is. There's no purpose left. I mean, I have 7 kids, and the major inspiration for me is I want them to have a world where it does matter that there is something that's true and not true. Not that anything is true. Now,
Right.
that's different from saying you perceive something, someone perceives something. There is racism. It's not
Right.
just your perception.
Right.
I see it every day in my work. What does it look like? It
Right.
looks like people being subjected, as you said earlier, to double standards all over the place. And without good and legitimate explanation. There might be an explanation for treating something different, treating someone different. The fact they happen to be African American wouldn't necessarily make it racist, right? But what's the reason? What's the rationale?
Right.
And when we start unpacking that, we can make a judgment.
Exactly.
Okay? As you said about Mr. Chamberlain, who I think about a great deal, and his son. You know, we have a person who's treated the way they were treated, devalued. That's an important
Devalued.
word for us. We have to focus on that word, devalued.
And criminalized.
Those are two key words
Yes.
because that devaluation is what separates the treatment. Someone else gets the benefit of the doubt. They get the benefit of they're a piece of you know what.
Exactly.
Have a good night,
We,
everybody.
we have
man.
we got one more question from
All right.
our co-host who's not here, Dr. Bob Baskerville.
Okay.
He said, Mike, one of the most frequent objections to the mental health defenses is the perception that it would give the defendant an unacceptably light punishment. Is this true? Even if a mental health defense was successful, what type of penalty would your client receive?
So there's a bifurcation or a division in our law. If someone is declared mentally unfit and that condition is a constitutional condition, meaning a condition that's inherent in their person, they're going to be institutionalized and they're going to get treatment until and unless, and usually it's literally 20, 30 years.
Right.
The focus is not punishment as much as it is directly treatment. But institutional, as you're saying, yes, they did away with a lot of the mental institutions, but they still have Marcy, they still have Mid-Hudson, and these are
Mid-Hudson, right,
places where the psychiatrically deranged, if you will, who are charged with criminal offenses go and stay.
Right.
So it's not viewed, to answer the gentleman's question, as, quote, a punishment because they're viewed as not technically responsible in a legal way for that act because of their lack of mental capacity. Right. But on the other hand, they don't go free and walk around the streets either.
Right.
Well, I think that's what he wanted you. He wanted.
Absolutely
he
not.
wanted to get that out.
And that's not
you to
there.
get that.
And that's not what happens. They have to be in a situation where they're confined, but the confinement is viewed by maybe the same, but it's viewed as different. It's viewed within the desire to assist them in dealing with their mental disease.
Because correctional facilities, Damon, to correct me if I'm not mistaken, are not equipped to fully handle and treat these individuals, right? Like
No, not yet. But we have now this year. They're starting our new training this year is how to supervise the mentally ill. We have transitioned from a long way into now dealing with the mentally ill, understanding the mentally ill, and correction officers is probably the only law enforcement agency that everybody is taught how to deal with mentally ill. And now we're starting a class this year supervising the mentally ill.
Well, I do want to shout out to those at Westchester. I was in Westchester on Friday morning visiting with Mr. Thomas, and I must say the staff that I interacted with was tremendous. Everyone there, from the visiting area into the visiting room, I'm saying the reception
Right,
area to the
right.
visiting room, each and every person seemed to me at least to be sensitive to what was going on, not making a big joke out of it, and understanding that this gentleman plainly on the face had some pretty darn serious issues. So I congratulate them for that sensitivity. And often we criticize these individuals, we accuse them of things, but in that case, at least, I was very impressed with the attitude they were demonstrating. So
I know you were saying that you were pushing for a competency hearing. Am I saying that right?
No.
Is that scheduled yet, or would you have anything?
I on Monday, again, the day after I got the case, I wrote to the district attorney who was then leaving. Tom Walsh became the district attorney on January 1st and now has this situation in Rockland County. He just took office.
Right,
You can imagine.
right,
This is
exactly.
what he comes into office with. And I wrote them asking for agreement that he be evaluated for a 30-day period pursuant to the laws of the New York State so that we could get a fuller evaluation, but they never responded. So I retained, essentially at my own expense, a psychiatrist, a forensic psychiatrist who would come to some conclusions about this gentleman, who's
Right.
a very well-known forensic psychiatrist in this area.
So he's currently being held in Westchester, and that's the most up to date.
He's currently being held, and my doctor did see him for several hours on Friday. We'll go back to see him this week, and I hope that we'll have a preliminary report at least, which will allow the court and give the court some basis to believe he needs to have the evaluation.
Right.
Whatever the people's position may be, I don't know, because they haven't responded to my efforts.
Any questions, Damon?
Well, you know, our door is open.
Absolutely.
You my neighbor, man. If you need me for anything, brother, just let me know, man. I'm only 10, 15 minutes away.
All right. Well, it's great
Let
to
me
see you
know.
again,
Yes,
Damon.
definitely.
Even though I'm not seeing all of you. Same with you, Lorraine.
Nice
I
to
never
meet
say
you.
that to a woman, but given that you raised it first. Congratulations to you, too.
Thank you.
Yes. And it's always a pleasure. And our doors.
Good luck with everything. Good
Our
luck with
doors
your
are
case.
always open. Open door policy. You need us. You call us. You know how to contact us.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank
Drive safe. And
I really wanted to. I talked as soon as, like I said, Sunday night last week after I got home from the show. The first thing I did was hit Damon, and I hit Lorraine, and I was like, Mike Sussman is representing him, and we agreed that we needed to get him on the show, and we reached out to him, and he came on, and I hope some people were informed and it shed some light on the situation, and you pay attention to some of the stuff he said. I think it was a perfect way to start off the show. I know we touched it a little bit, but we wanted to deal with more of the mental health in our communities, and you wanted to deal with the county.
Yeah, I think
DA
we
race
touched.
too.
Yeah, I think we touched on the mental health issue, man. I really, I really think that we are lacking as a total community in dealing with mental health, especially in the Black and brown communities. Like I said earlier in the preview of the show, and we touched about it. Corrections. We are looking at. We treat over 90% of our inmates as if they are mentally ill. One of the nurses told me. I was like, well, how many? She said everybody takes some type of medication for that's the way she explained it. She said everybody, and I was like, damn, but we are trained, and I'm proud to say, and that's something that people do not hear about from correction officers, or hear about correction officers, that we are trained. We don't have a unit that's trained to respond. Everybody is trained to deal with mentally ill people. And now everybody, after this year, everybody will be trained on supervising the mentally ill. So
I think that's very important because there was an incident in Mount Vernon, Anthony Smith, when Davis was still mayor.
yes,
Put a particular officer back out, and the person was allegedly mentally ill and may have been waving a knife and then went inside. You know what I'm saying? And they came and they broke down the door. The police, what I found out, not just with Mount Vernon police, but in a lot of these police departments, they are not trained in how to handle an encounter with the mentally ill.
well, no, that's what
Even if
And they're the first ones that before you get involved. I mean, it's the police.
that's what I said.
Yeah.
Because departments, they usually may have the emergency response team in police departments that are trained. Westchester County has a emergency response team, but under Astorino, they cut them back to Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Like, what kind of crazy nonsense is that?
So if something happens at 6 o'clock.
Exactly. I'm not sure. I know that Lattimore said that they were going to build that up, make it 7 days a week, make it accessible and available to the municipalities if they have to respond. But for a long time, we have been trained in dealing with mentally ill, and now to the point now, there's a new class. We have to deal with supervising the mentally ill, which is going to be an interesting class this year to actually take and see what type of subjects they.
There was one comment, Nada Cater left a comment, and I didn't get a chance to read it while Mike was here.
Mm-hmm.
She said there's a concern that this point of his mental illness is prompting the faulty stereotype that mentally ill people are more prone to physical violence.
No, that too.
And I wanted him to address that, but I didn't get a chance. There was just so much going on. I wanted to read it at least now, and acknowledge the comment, but I didn't get a chance to read that.
No, I think yeah. Well, that too. I mean, it's the old scary big black man.
When I worked for the city, for both administrations, whenever somebody emotionally disturbed would come into City Hall, I would get a call. Lorraine was sending someone over to you. They would send every single emotionally disturbed person to my office so that I can handle them. Sometimes they will be escorted by a cop to my office, but they will leave them alone with me so that I could deal with them. I kind of knew how to deal with them, knew how to talk to them, calm them down, and get them to services. Sometimes institutionalize them. Sometimes call a family member. I knew how to deal with them, but I've never really seen anybody of.
Well, you would think that they would
authority.
Right. You would think that they would address the issue of having services for the mentally ill, because I don't know if you was living up here or not in Westchester. There were two major cases back to back, right? There was the case where the lady got stabbed up in the Galleria Mall by a mentally ill man. Then there was the Christopher Ridley shooting because he was stopping a mentally ill person assault somebody. And they did absolutely nothing after that. So, after a woman was killed and then after a police officer was killed, you would think that something would have happened in how we deal with mentally ill people. How do we give them services and to keep themselves safe on the street and keep other people safe, that we would come up with nothing. But we usually don't, and we don't see that. And like Mike Sussman says, because there's not a continuance of outrage and a continuance of activism, because then it goes away. It's not. It's News 12 doesn't talk about it. Nobody reports it, and then nobody talks about it until the incident happens again.
And that's why I asked the question. Okay, real quick. That's why I asked him the question about why hadn't he gotten help before? Like they said, if he had a history, because not just him, in our community, there are a lot of people that are not getting that kind of help. There's no treatment. And he said if they had just had home visits, they would have seen he was not taking his medication. If Mike was able to find a whole bunch of full medicine bottles, like no one has checked on him or anything in a very long time, or No, I mean
that's the way it is, man. I mean, if your loved one is busy trying to do, it happens, man.
People fall through the cracks.
Yeah, people fall through the cracks. But I want to, before we...
I wanted to give Lorraine...
go ahead,
I cut her off, so I wanted to give her a chance to
this. It was so... There was so many people sent to me in all my years that I tried to find a way to help them. I actually was advocating both mayors, can you open up an office of this for disability? Just disability office, just to deal with people with disabilities, because I figured, mental illness is a disability and we can work on it through there. Nobody listens.
There's been a bunch of comments talking about medication. Sometimes that it could be the effect of the medication or not taking the medication. There have been both comments made in the comment section. Go ahead, Damien. You were going to say something, and then we were going to talk about.
I just wanted to get in. Yeah, we had 15 minutes. I wanted to talk about that there were shots fired. This is the first real shot by Mimi Roach against Anthony Scarpino, and how and how he handled a recent issue about a
Police
cop,
officer
a
Yonkers.
Yonkers cop who had admitted perjury. So LOHUD reported that former Mimi Roach, who's a former assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York, questioned why Scarpino didn't initiate a review earlier. Right, task force earlier yesterday with his task force last year. Right, why did it take him a year to do a review? And as a former prosecutor, she said, I know that is a standard with overlapping prosecutorial agencies. See, it didn't print well. Well, anyway, she's saying that it is standard for the federal government to inform the local district attorney's office of the investigations, of the proper investigation, and what's going on. So, and she said that this guy was allowed to continue serving as a witness since the DA became aware of the allegations. So clearly, he was under investigation, and they were still allowing him to testify in cases.
Was he indicted though?
It doesn't matter. She's saying
Why wasn't even his credibility at least questioned?
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, because if you're an attorney, I mean, I would think, I'm not an attorney, but if this guy has credibility issues and even accusations, how can you trust him in the case against my defendant?
Right.
My
So
client?
basically, now that he admitted perjury, every case that he testified, every report
They gotta go back.
They literally have to go back now, and I hope that there's lawyers. You know, I'm kind of upset that Mike left on this, because there's lawyers. Lawyers have to get on their game now, and a lot of guys may have got a lot of time, even with the case of
Jamal Smythe.
Right, Jamal Smythe. He was serving time because these Yonkers cops lied, and they
Koch and can't think of the other guy's name.
Right. Then they let him go, and they probably paid a hefty toll to this brother because he
served 3 years.
Yeah, he served 3 years out of a 13-year sentence.
20.
Yeah, it was a lot. I remember it was a lot. But I really think if Mimi Roach continues to go at Scarpino on these issues of dealing with police corruption, he's going to have a problem. He's going to have a big problem, because my opinion, he dropped the ball on a lot of things in Mount Vernon.
Westchester County, period.
Throughout
White
Westchester.
Plains PBA.
White Plains PBA, the missing guns.
The missing guns in Eastchester or Bronxville, whatever that was.
Exactly. And just Mount Vernon, he was just ghost. He was just absent. And I also think part of the problem is that they have to change how they hire, or they bring in police, bring in the investigators for the DA's office. They should never come from the 43 municipalities.
Well,
you can't investigate if you have your investigators.
Part of the team.
Exactly, and we know, and we know how it is. Law enforcement is a very, incestual community. Meaning, when I say that, meaning that you have people that are related to each other throughout the 43 municipalities. And I could just use my family, and who I'm, and other people in law enforcement throughout Westchester that I'm actually related to. So that is it brings question. How can you have integrity, and have transparency if you're investigating your own police department, or you're investigating the police department that your wife's cousin, uncle's brother is in, and so we have to change the structure in how we do business in the DA's office. But I think if she continues, he's gonna have a problem. Robin Elizabeth says, so them cops are not going to stand a chance for Mount Vernon since an election is upon us. Maybe not. But a little birdie told me that Scarpino was brought over the rakes by the black Democrats for not charging the cop that body slammed the person in the hospital,
right.
and he still don't have any type of charges, right? So what does that mean, right? That means absolutely nothing. Or maybe he doesn't want an election. But you know what? We don't know what's going to happen. It's still a couple of months, and I guess maybe after the first poll come out where Mimi is beating his behind, he'll start putting people in jail. But you see, it's also a double standard in how they treat black folks, because they, I'm not condoning what the brother, what's his name, Martin, who was arrested in Mount Vernon, but they plastered his behind all over the media like it was a win for the DA's office. But you barely knew about this white cop in Yonkers that admitted perjury, right? And for a while they didn't even let his name out.
And that's what they usually do. I just want to echo, I don't remember who the guest was, and we was having a conversation, and I don't know if David was in the studio or on Skype. The Westchester County DA is one of the most important elections that persons of color can vote for. We have an election coming up. We can't just roll all the way. We can't just go with somebody because they're the party nominee. We have to use our vote wisely, because it's going to seriously have an effect on how crimes are prosecuted and people are prosecuted over the next several years. This is a very, 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 very important election, and it may be one of the most important elections that you can vote in locally. And so you need to know the candidates. I want to definitely try to reach out to this candidate and see if she'll come on the show.
I'm waiting on the information.
Right, and get the candidates in here and talk to them and get y'all to know who they are, so y'all can make informed decisions at the ballot box, because we're not doing that. We're voting for popularity. We're voting because other people are telling us to vote for them, or that's who they're voting for. We're not voting because I still stand to this day, and I could be wrong, I don't think Scarpino was the best candidate.
He wasn't.
I think the Republican candidate, Bruce Bandage, I think he was the more qualified candidate. I've interviewed him. I've talked to Scarpino, and from the interview and from what I've seen, I think he probably might have been better. Now, I could be wrong. It's one thing when you campaign and one thing when you're in the position. But I didn't think Scarpino was the best candidate, and I'm gonna be honest about that. And I didn't vote for him.
When I first ran for office, Scarpino was running for office, and the Democratic Party asked me to go door to door with him. I went door to door with him. We campaigned together many years ago. Same people in the Democratic Party that asked me to help him are still the same people in the Democratic Party today.
But I mean,
that's a problem too.
And see, this bothers me, right? This bothers me when you have when you have a candidate, or you have an elected official, and especially in the DA, especially the DA, that does not give justice, right, or does not do the right thing when it comes to communities of color, and black elected officials or black leadership, well, especially black elected officials, do not publicly condemn their counterpart in the DA's office. I think it does a disservice to the district attorney's office. It does a disservice of justice because of the fact that, I'm cool with behind closed doors meetings. But as I told the little birdie, but what does that does with the general public, right? You do not give the general public proper information that they could go that they could go into the voting booth and try something new, because what we have has not worked. So I really think that we are failing in that way. For him to be from Mount Vernon and has allowed the corruption to go on, and allowed all that corruption for 3 years, and then I know for a fact there were people that walked evidence in his office, and still nothing happened. I myself met with him two or three times on incidents that happened, and me and Nas Duncan met with him on certain things, and they still didn't do anything. You had his ADA, right, rake over the coal in a murder trial, rake over the coals of the incompetence of some officers, right? But nothing actually happened, and they lost the trial. So there's a lot of good officers, right? But every job, we know that there are people that should not be there. I mean, I know people at my job that shouldn't be there. They should be doing something else, right? So if we're just going to be honest, right? A lot of times we don't want to be honest. So when those people that that shouldn't be there do things wrong, it should be some type of accountability.
Absolutely. Lorraine Lopez, any last words? Anything that you want to address?
No, it's good. Let's keep an open dialogue with that. I think we need to discuss the mental illness situation in our community a lot.
We're gonna be talking about that a lot this year.
Yeah.
We're gonna bring other people in. We're gonna continue this conversation, keep the conversation going, as well as Damon and the plant-based diet and our health and wellness is going to be
I just got my first certificate.
My
first certification.
All right now.
I am now a plant-based lifestyle coach.
Awesome.
That's my first one. So I got 3 more. I'm working on 3 more.
So we're gonna be dealing with a lot more of that. A lot of more health and wellness, and I'm going to be working and carrying you through my journey as I make some of these lifestyle changes that I need to make over the next couple of months. So we thank everybody. Damon, any last words?
No, I have no really. I just think, man, we in 2020, man. We gotta have 2020 vision, man. We gotta start seeing things, for what it really is, man. And we gotta, and as a people, we gotta stop falling for the old okie doke banana in the tailpipe.
Stop being afraid to speak
bullshit,
up, folks. Yeah,
bullshit.
Stop being afraid to speak up.
I mean, we are in all these positions, all these highfalutin positions black folks have, and together we have nothing. Like we don't even have a black agenda, right? We don't have a black agenda. We don't We don't have a black agenda. We don't have a black agenda for Westchester. There's no black agenda. Do we understand what the definition of an agenda is for? Like what an agenda is supposed to accomplish? And we don't even have a black agenda for black people.
Isn't that what the African American Advisory Board is for?
No, they just advise. It has nothing to do with having a black agenda.
Well, just on a lighter note,
You know, I mean, listen, man, we don't have a black agenda. How do you have a black vote and you don't have a black agenda? You have to have an agenda
I
to
see
know
what
what
you're
you
saying.
to know what the hell you voting for.
I see what you're
So
saying.
so if you don't have that, you literally have nothing, and you just voting for people like Cuomo that's going to take you advantage of and play you like a freaking fiddle and give you nothing.
Like he did with the
so
bridge.
so
Like he did with the bridges, like he did with the hospital, like he have done with so many other things to black folks. You know, when they asked him what was going on in Mount Vernon, he said he don't even know. How the
don't
hell
know,
you
yeah.
live in Westchester County and you get up in the morning and you walking around your house in your drawers and you don't put on News 12 and you don't know what the hell going on.
So
man.
so
Come
so
on, man.
so
Get out of
so
here.
Damon
man.
said we got to stop falling for the banana in the tailpipe.
Right, exactly. Good old banana in the tailpipe trip.
Can I get some extra mayo?
Certainly, sir.
Thank you.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
There's the Mercedes. We get rid of that stuff?
Yo, does it actually work?
I was just gonna ask the question. Does that really
Yeah, I
work?
guess because if it clogs up, it's gonna stall. Yeah, you know, I guess if it
If it backs
actually,
up because
yeah.
it's clogged, yeah.
So
I couldn't resist that. Like we always bring that up, and I haven't showed the clip in a long time, so I just want to show that clip.
So before we go, there's a couple of you got Robin Elizabeth says it was a good discussion. She says it was a good discussion. Hold on, I lost it. She said a couple. It was a good discussion.
Damon, tell me what's in the Impossible Burger.
Who said that?
Now it's
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out. You know, I'm still trying to figure that out. But it's good. I
But
ain't
they
lying.
cook it in,
I
don't
mean-
they cook it in the same
Not
thing though?
not no more. They
Oh.
got sued. They
okay.
yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah, they got sued. She said, Robinson said, so them cops are not going to stand a chance for Mount Vernon since the election is coming upon us. And then she said, well, Zadie's going to get it for stealing time. And then she said, they not listening, AJ. Andre Wallace was the best candidate. We don't demand respect, accountability for our communities. Nas says qualifications are void in this day and age. Joe Smo on the train and run and get elected because people see them daily. And someone liked it, and then you got to clean your system, brother. Tell me what's in the Impossible Burger. Then leaving you in the dust, and she said it's good. Nas said it's good. Yep.
Yeah. Actually, I can say it's good too.
The Impossible Burger is
actually
good.
had a few of them.
And I'll probably have one tonight before I go to work. And
Oh man, and if I tell you what I'm gonna have, you're gonna get mad at me.
no, I ain't gonna get mad at you.
I'm
That's
gonna
your-
have a baconator from Wendy's.
Well, listen, enjoy.
To each
That's
his
your
own,
body.
yeah.
God, that sounds
That's your
so
body.
good.
I ain't got nothing to do with that.
But I'm working on a healthier lifestyle.
I ain't got nothing to do with that. I'm still trying to get mine right.
I want a baconator.
So again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you're interested, show up at the town hall tomorrow. Ask questions.
Yes, please.
Ask questions. Don't
Ask
just listen.
questions.
Ask questions. I think you should show up just to ask questions and
Please.
find out. Just ask questions. That's going to be tomorrow. I think at 6:00 at Graham Elementary School. And then they're going to announce other things that they're doing, which include letter writing and a bus ride up to Albany and some other stuff that I can't speak on because I don't remember, but they'll speak about all of that at the actual town hall. That's the
Please, somebody ask if they got the money, what are we going to Albany for? I mean, do they have? You got to find out if they have the money. Because if they got the money, going to Albany is not going to do nothing but piss Cuomo off.
Well, they were supposed to actually that one of the people, because there's people from the Nurses Association and people from other, they were supposed to. One of the people at the organizing committee was tasked to find out if they got the money, how much of the money they got, if they got all the money, and all of that.
But I don't understand. Why didn't the Nurses Association say something 10 years ago?
Okay, well, somebody needs to ask that question tomorrow. So that's tomorrow, the town hall.
Can
tomorrow.
you invite the? We got to get the Nurses Association because
I have invited them, and I'm waiting for an official.
Because I have to ask that question as a former union delegate of 13 years. You know, in your profession, there are signs. There are signs when something's going to happen, right? So there had to be certain signs in the profession that the hospital was closing, right? Because it wasn't. We all knew that the hospital was going to close sooner or later because everybody was talking about it. But the problem was nobody was doing anything because we couldn't confirm because nobody inside the hospital was saying that it was going to close. So I mean, you know, like where were the unions a couple of years ago? Because there's signs that. There's signs when you lose your maternity ward, when you cut down to 100 and something beds, when you do this, when you do that, when you do these, there's signs. There's signs that something's not right. These guys ain't going to be here.
So tomorrow come out and ask the questions. Check Messenger. I sent you a message. Also, don't forget the Legal Aid Society of Westchester County Know Your Rights Forum Thursday, January 16, 5 to 7, Yonkers Riverfront Library, 1 Larkin Center. Panelists will include specialists and lawyers who will discuss various topics, including the effects of the criminal justice legislation and voters registration. Attorneys from the Legal Aid Society of Westchester County, and they highlight free food will be provided. So go there. No, but go there and ask questions. Go there and ask questions. Start going to these places and asking questions. Start showing your face. Start going to the city council meetings, these county legislative meetings, these school board meetings.
And not only that, stop being so goddamn sensitive when we're talking on this radio show about issues. If you're not doing the dumb shit, we ain't gonna have to talk about the dumb shit on the radio station, right? This is a new goddamn year, man. So stop all the bullshit. It's not personal. If you do it and we talk about it, don't get fucking mad that we're talking about it. Don't do it. It's simple. Yeah. It's simple as that. I don't understand what all the sensitivity is coming from with the dumb shit that you're doing. And that's why we have to talk about it and we have to write about it because you're doing the dumb shit. Then you want to get mad and you want to do more dumb shit. You want to retaliate, take it personal, attack a person's family, and do all this. Stop it. Don't do the dumb shit. We won't have to talk about your dumb shit. Have Vision on 20. If we see you because it's 2020, we're going to talk about your dumb shit. So let's not have it. Listen, I'm coming on this radio show more in 2020. And if we have to talk about your dumb shit, we will. But don't do the dumb shit. If you are in a position of power, do the right thing by your people, period. And we won't have to talk about you on the radio show because you're doing it. So let's start off the new year correct, people. We started this show, People Before Politics, so we could help people, so we could move forward in our fucking community, right? We could get our community better. We could get the trash off the streets. Yep. We could get the educational system better. We could get economic development. We could get people jobs so we could announce that, bring people on, want to hire people so they could feed their family, right? But then you get mad at us when we talk about your dumb shit.
And they usually know they're doing it too.
Right, wait a minute.
Mad 'cause
but
they
you
got
don't.
caught.
But we ain't talking about dumb shit you do behind closed doors in private. We talking about dumb shit you do in public.
So we talk about it in public.
Exactly, and we're talking about in public, and then you get mad at us because we talking about the dumb shit you do that everybody else saw.
So, as we close this show,
Happy New Year, goddamn.
Our phrase of the week is stop doing the dumb shit. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. I had other announcements, but we're going to leave that and let that be the last word. This has been BlackWestchester.com presents the People Before Politics radio show. We're on every Sunday, 6 to 8, on InTheMixRadio.com, giving you that real talk for the community. Again, that real talk for the community since 2014. And we will continue to give you that real talk. Thank you for all tuning in. That's it. Until next week. This has been the first show of the year, episode 245. Till next week, we will have candidates running for Congress. Catherine Parker running for Nita Lowey's seat, and I forgot. And Samuel and Lorraine walked out the room. The Latino guy running for Ingalls spot will be our guest for next week. Until next week, peace.
22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.
To be their friend, and I told Andre that.